All right, let's break down one of the most relatable chapters in your Flamingo textbook, Going Places by A.R. Barton. We're going to dive right into this world of huge dreams and the not-so-dreamy realities that stand in their way.
I mean, who hasn't, right? That feeling of just wanting to escape into a future that's way more glamorous or exciting, that's a huge part of being a teenager. And it's that exact feeling that is at the very heart of this story.
So let's meet our main character, Sophie. She's a student, just about to finish school, but her mind is already miles away, soaring way beyond the life that seems to be mapped out for her. She's living in this amazing world of dreams that's about to have a major crash with her very, very ordinary reality.
And you see this clash perfectly through her and her best friend, Janzi. You've got Sophie, the dreamer, talking about owning a boutique or becoming an actress. And then you have Janzi, the realist, who's always there to gently say, "Hey, Soph, that takes money," and remind her that they're both pretty much destined for the biscuit factory. Now, Janzi's not trying to be a downer, she's just being practical. But for Sophie, that practicality feels like a trap.
And that trap feels even smaller and tighter when she's at home. I mean, when Sophie shares her dreams, her dad's reaction is just dismissive. He basically says, "Forget a boutique. If you get rich, you're buying us a decent house." Ouch! That one line tells you everything about the kind of support she's getting at home.
The story paints a really grim picture of her home life. It's this small, cramped, steamy place. Her father is described as grimy and sweat-marked, and her mother's back is literally crooked from a lifetime of hard work. It's this suffocating environment that really fuels her need to escape into her daydreams.
So how does she escape? Well, she cooks up the ultimate fantasy. And at the center of it all is a real-life sports hero, the incredible young football player, Danny Casey. To Sophie, he's not just some guy who's good at football. He is a symbol of everything she wants her life to be.
Her only real connection to that bigger world out there is her older brother, Jeff. He's this quiet apprentice mechanic, and to Sophie, he's like a gatekeeper to a life of freedom she's desperate for. So naturally, he's the first person she's going to let in on her big secret.
And it all starts so simply. Just 4 little words to Joff. "I met Danny Casey." She trusts him. He represents that world she wants to be a part of. So he's the one she wants to impress the most.
But it doesn't just stop there, of course not. The story starts to snowball. She adds another layer, this idea of a future date to get an autograph. And this little detail makes the whole fantasy feel so much more real, giving her something concrete to latch onto.
When her father hears about it, his reaction is exactly what you'd expect: total disbelief. And this is a really crucial moment, because the more the outside world pushes back and says no way, the more fiercely Sophie clings to her story.
Then, her secret world is put in serious danger when Jeff lets it slip. Suddenly, it's not a secret anymore, and Sophie just panics because if a realist like Jancy finds out, she's afraid her whole fragile fantasy world might just shatter.
All of this leads us to the story's emotional climax. Sophie decides to fully live out the fantasy. She actually goes to the canal to wait for Danny Casey. This is the moment her internal world just completely takes over.
You have to appreciate her commitment to the fantasy. She chooses this perfectly secluded spot, a place where people go when they don't want to be seen. It's like she's creating the perfect stage to protect her daydream from the harsh light of reality. And as she sits there waiting, we go on this complete emotional roller coaster with her, all happening inside her own mind. It kicks off with pure, buzzing anticipation, but as time goes on, doubt starts to creep in. That doubt slowly morphs into this really heavy sadness, and finally, she just resigns herself to the fact that he's not coming. The whole event is imagined, but the emotions she feels, they are 100% real.
And here's the really fascinating part. Even though Danny is a no-show, the experience isn't a failure in her eyes. The fantasy has become so powerful that the memory of what she imagined, his smile, the look in his eyes, is more real and more valuable to her than the disappointment of him not actually being there.
Okay, so now that we've really gotten into Sophie's head, let's zoom out and look at the key things you're going to want to remember, especially for your board exams.
So the main theme here is something called adolescent fantasizing. Sophie's hero worship of Danny Casey and her super detailed daydreams, it's a textbook example. It's really just a coping mechanism, a way for teenagers to deal with a reality that feels boring or a future that seems kind of bleak.
And this brings us to the title itself, Going Places, which is beautifully ironic. I mean, literally speaking, Sophie is going absolutely nowhere. She's stuck. But figuratively, In her imagination, she is constantly going places. She's off to fancy boutiques, on secret dates with superstars. Her mind is her only escape.
Okay, think of this as your cheat sheet for the exam. If you get a question on Sophie's character, you need to use words like dreamer, escapist, and trapped by circumstance. If you have to contrast Sophie and Jancy, the magic phrase is character foils. One is dreams, the other is reality. And the main theme, it's always about fantasy versus reality, and how fantasy becomes a tool for survival.
Look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Sophie's fantasies are not just childish stories. They are a powerful psychological tool she uses to cope with a future that feels like it's already set in stone. Her dreams are her rebellion. Which leaves us with one big question, right? What do you think Sophie's future is actually going to be like? Will her amazing imagination help her find a way out? Or will she eventually end up at that biscuit factory? Let me know what you think in the comments.